Her own mother's laughter echoed through the diner, a cruel Mother's Day gift that was meant to break her. But with one calm announcement, she turned the tables and exposed a lifetime of lies in front of everyone. 2 weeks ago on Mother's Day, my entire world was completely flipped upside down. I was working my regular shift at the Maple Leaf Diner, a place I had considered my second home for the last 4 years. That's exactly when my mother walked through the door, and right beside her was my younger sister, Ava. They were both dressed to the nines, looking absolutely glamorous, while I was standing there in my worn-out server uniform. My mom looked me up and down with a disgusted expression, and then she let out a laugh that cut right through the quiet diner like a sharp knife. "Oh, it's just you," she said loudly. "We had no idea you were still slaving away here. How incredibly embarrassing for us." Ava let out a little giggle right beside her, and at that moment, the entire diner fell completely silent. I could physically feel the eyes of every person at the 6 surrounding tables staring right at me. But instead of shrinking away or feeling humiliated, I simply picked up the menu from the table and spoke 4 words that ended up changing my life forever. "Today is my last day. Let me take you all the way back to the very beginning. When I was just 15 years old, my parents got a divorce. My dad, who was always a dreamer with a wandering heart, left one day without even saying a single word. My mother was never the same person after he left. She became extremely cold and emotionally distant. And somehow, for some reason, she decided that I was the one to blame for all of it. "You are just like him," she would constantly tell me, her eyes always filled with deep resentment. Ava, on the other hand, was her absolute pride and joy. She had inherited all of our mother's charm and her special ability to wrap absolutely anyone right around her little finger. When Ava got accepted into a local art school, my mother threw a massive party to celebrate. There were colorful streamers hanging from the ceiling and a huge banner that read, "Congratulations, Ava." Meanwhile, I was holding a sealed envelope in my hand that contained my own acceptance letter to Stanford University with a full-ride scholarship. I showed my mom that letter, my hands actually shaking with pure excitement. She barely glanced at it, then she just shrugged her shoulders uncaringly. "I simply can't afford to send 2 kids to college," she told me. "Ava needs all the financial support she can possibly get. You're strong, Denise. You'll figure something out on your own." On that very same night, I stood by and watched as my mother gave Ava a brand new car, a shiny red convertible. What did I get? I got a long, handwritten list of part-time jobs to apply for. I immediately started working at the Maple Leaf Diner so I could pay my own way through college. For 4 long, exhausting years, I pulled double shifts every single day, got hardly any sleep at all, and I missed out on so many normal things that other young people got to enjoy. While Ava was constantly posting beautiful pictures on Instagram from her expensive art trips to Italy, I was busy memorizing the diner's extensive wine list. While she was celebrating her 21st birthday in an exotic location like Bali, I was eating leftover food in my tiny, cramped apartment. Through all of that struggle, I still managed to maintain an incredibly high 3.8 GPA. I conducted important research alongside Professor Thompson in the economics department, and I was even published in a respected student academic journal. But my mother never, ever came to see any of my achievements. "I really wish I could be there, sweetie," she would always say, "but Ava has this important thing she needs me for." To the rest of my family, I was just the black sheep, the one who had supposedly given up on college just to work at a diner. Not a single one of them knew that I was actually just a few college credits away from graduating with high honors. Just 3 weeks before that fateful Mother's Day, I received an email that completely changed the course of my life. It was a formal job offer letter from Blackstone and Company, which is one of the top financial firms in the entire country. I had applied for the position on a complete whim, not expecting anything at all to come from it, but there it was, written clearly in black and white. "Dear Ms. Denise, we are absolutely pleased to offer you the position of Junior Financial Analyst." I suddenly remembered that Ava had posted an Instagram story a few months ago, talking about how she had applied for a really big job. She had cleverly cropped the company's name out of the picture, but I still managed to recognize the application portal. She never mentioned it ever again after that, and I couldn't help but wonder if maybe she had been quietly rejected. I made a firm decision that Mother's Day would officially be my very last shift working at the diner. I printed out that amazing offer letter and carefully put it inside my work bag, just in case I needed it. A few days before Mother's Day, my mother actually called me. Her voice was sickly sweet and fake at first. "Ava suggested that we should all have brunch together as a family," she said cheerfully. I honestly told her that I had to work that day. Her tone of voice instantly turned cold and sharp. "You always have to work, don't you? It's like you're deliberately avoiding us." I tried my best to explain my situation, but she simply refused to listen. "A real daughter would make time for her own mother on Mother's Day," she stated harshly. I could clearly hear Ava giggling meanly in the background of the call. That's when I knew for sure that they were both planning something. When Ava later texted me, saying that they would just come to the diner for brunch instead, I knew without a doubt that they were coming specifically to embarrass me in public. But by that point, I was completely done with hiding. The entire night before Mother's Day, I couldn't sleep at all. I carefully ironed my uniform, I read through that amazing offer letter one more time, and I made myself two important mental lists. The first list contained things I absolutely would not do. I would not cry, I would not yell, and I would not apologize. The second list contained the things I truly wanted. I wanted to finally tell the truth, and I wanted to leave that place with my dignity completely intact. At the diner the next morning, everything started off perfectly smoothly. I served a kind single mom with 3 energetic kids, and I also served a sweet elderly couple who were happily celebrating their anniversary. It was moments exactly like these that always reminded me of what a real, loving family should actually look like. Then my good friend and coworker, Rebecca, tapped me gently on the shoulder. "They're here," she whispered nervously. I took one long, deep breath and then walked over to their table. My mother's eyes slowly traveled down the length of my uniform, and her facial expression immediately turned ice cold. "Oh, it's just you," she declared, loud enough for absolutely every person in the diner to hear clearly. "How embarrassing." Ava laughed meanly right on cue, and the entire diner instantly went dead silent. I looked directly at them, then I looked at all the strangers who were now watching me, and I thought about that precious offer letter sitting safely in my locker. I decided right then and there that it was finally time to tell the whole truth. "Actually," I announced calmly, "I have an important announcement to make. Today is officially my very last day working here. Starting this Monday, I will be working as a junior financial analyst at Blackstone and Company." The entire diner immediately erupted with loud murmurs and whispers of surprise. My mother's face went completely pale, as white as a sheet. "That's absolutely ridiculous," she sputtered. "You're just a simple waitress. You didn't even go to college." I calmly and clearly told her everything about my college years, about my high GPA, and about my important research. I also looked directly at Ava and confronted her right there about her own failed job application. The whole place was now in a complete uproar. My mother tried desperately to complain about me to the manager, Mr. Harris, but he completely sided with me. He had been quietly watching the entire humiliating scene unfold. I made a decision to serve them anyway, despite everything. I told them both to order absolutely whatever they wanted from the menu, and I also announced that the desserts for my entire section of the diner would be paid for by them. My mother was now completely trapped. She couldn't possibly say no without completely ruining her carefully crafted, perfect mom image in front of everyone. When the bill finally arrived, it was an incredibly hefty sum. My mother tried to pay for it with her credit card, but the card was tragically declined right at the table. Mr. Harris then calmly informed her that, due to her extremely poor behavior in his establishment, she would now have to pay the entire bill in cash. While my mother was frantically scrambling through her wallet, trying to find enough money, Ava's phone suddenly started going absolutely crazy with notifications. She had been foolishly live streaming the entire humiliating scene, and now there were literally thousands of people watching it live. The comments flooding in were brutal, calling Ava a bully and my mother a truly horrible person. In a desperate last move, my mother tried to call our Aunt Carol to ask for financial help, but even she hung up on her immediately after seeing the viral video. My mother finally turned to face me, her voice cracking with desperation. "Please, Denise, I am still your mother." I looked at her, right at the woman who had made my entire life a living hell for so many long, painful years. I reached into my apron pocket and slowly pulled out my envelope of tip money for the day. "I will pay your bill for you," I said to her quietly, "but I want you to know that this is the absolute last thing I will ever do for you." They both got up and left the diner without saying another single word. The entire diner burst into loud cheers for me, and I ended up receiving the highest tips I had ever gotten in my 4 years of working there. Over the course of the next few weeks, that video went completely viral across the internet. Ava lost a massive number of her followers, and her so-called influencer career was effectively over. Family members who had believed my mother's lies about me for so many years suddenly started reaching out to me, offering their sincere apologies. The following Monday, I walked into the impressive offices of Blackstone and Company wearing a brand new, professional suit. My very own desk had a beautiful nameplate on it that read, "Denise, Financial Analyst." Just 3 months later, I received my very first promotion at the company. My life was finally, truly changing for the better. Ava did call me once, trying to apologize, but I honestly wasn't ready to forgive her just yet. My mother, for her part, remained completely silent and never contacted me. This past Mother's Day, I did not have to work at all. I bought myself a beautiful bouquet of bright sunflowers, and I just sat in my nice apartment, looking out at the beautiful city skyline. For the very first time in such a long time, I felt completely and utterly free. I have finally come to realize that my true worth as a person is not determined by my family's unfair opinions. I have successfully built my own success with my own 2 hands, and I am so incredibly proud of the person I have become.